Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today is Valentine's Day. So obviously I'm going to be spending it with my car and my girlfriend. In this video I've got some important information for anyone who's planning on doing the quick release gearbox modification that I done to Maude. I do always stress that I don't know what I'm doing. And I always say that if you're going to be doing anything that I'm doing, that you should always go and do your own research from other sources as well. I've basically messed up a bit and I don't want anyone else to make the same mistake that I have. Before I get into all that though, I'm going to give you a better look at the damage that Maude sustained at the drift day recently. But before I do that, I'm going to jet wash the car so that we can have a proper look. Yeah, the jet wash didn't do a great job at all, to be honest. I think I need to go around and actually wash it with a sponge to remove all the mud, but it is what it is. So there's the dent. It has gone in quite far. You can probably see from this angle. It's all creased up here where the seam is. Missed my light lens though, so I suppose that's a good thing. Yeah, all this paint's flaking off. So yeah, quite a lot of panel beating to do and obviously a bit of filler, and then I'll just roll on some matte black paint. But it could have been a whole lot worse. I mean, I think if he had have hit me sort of further forward, then it would have been quite major. On the other side, obviously the bumper's been pulled this way, and it's actually ripped the nut and bolt out from there. Yeah, so the dent is on the same side as the fuel tank, so I obviously need to remove the fuel tank before I can bang the dent out. Right, so I've just jacked the car up, and I'm going to jump under there now and show you how I messed up with Maude's replacement gearbox. Also, I'm going to let you know something that you may want to consider if you're planning to do the same quick release modification that I did. Right, so how I messed up is I didn't do the Allen keys up super tight. And what I found is a couple of days after the drift day, there was actually a gap between the bell housing and the gearbox here. Now the gearbox is now leaking oil, and I think what's happened is because the Allen key bolts got loose, it's obviously put strain on the input shaft of the gearbox, which has probably either deformed the little rubber seal inside the clutch release bearing sleeve, or it might have even moved the clutch release bearing sleeve itself and broken the cork gasket. But either way, it now has gearbox oil leaking from the front of the gearbox, which is not good. Now obviously the first thing I did was to retighten the Allen key bolts. And what I found was I was only actually able to get to 3 of them. Now the bottom 2 are obviously pretty easy to get to. You can just use one of these UJ things and a small bar, and you can get onto the bottom 2 quite easily. The top 2, however, are a little bit more difficult. Now the upper one on the driver's side, I found I was able to get with 2 of these smaller bars, and again using the UJ thing. It's quite hard to do it and film, but basically I was able to just about do that one like that. And also, if I put all of these bars together, I reckon I can probably get to it by poking it through down the side from the back end of the gearbox like this, something like that. But the passenger side one I found impossible, and I was unable to retighten that one. Now one option is to drill a hole in the gearbox tunnel, both sides, roughly where those Allen key bolts are, and I'm considering doing that. But one thing I'm going to try first is by getting myself a flexible one of these bars. I've seen them on eBay and I'm going to order some later on. Now I'm determined to change the gearbox next time without going through the hassle that I did this time. So I'll let you know how I get on with either using the flexible shaft or if I have to resort to drilling a couple of holes in the gearbox tunnel. As for the gearbox leak itself, obviously the gearbox is going to need to be taken out again, and as a minimum I'm going to have to replace the oil seal and the cork gasket on the clutch release bearing sleeve. But to be honest, I'm actually thinking about getting a recon gearbox and just switching them over. Obviously I've got the gearbox that I've just taken out of this car that I can now go and have rebuilt, and I'm thinking that's the route I'm going to take, but not yet. I can't be arsed. I'm just going to have to keep topping up the gearbox oil for now and deal with that in a few weeks' time or something. What I'm going to be focusing on now is removing the rear windscreen because I want to change the rubber. Now, because this Escort's a GL model, it came with a load of chrome around the windows, chrome trim down the sides, and chrome trim around the front and rear windscreens. Now, this chrome trim has gone really yellow, and I've already replaced the front windscreen rubber for an RS one, which is completely black. This is the replacement rubber I've got for it, and I got it from a company called East Kent Trim Supplies, and I'll leave a link to their website in the description of this video. Now, I've actually had this since last summer. I picked it up at Classic Ford Show last year, and I just haven't got around to fitting it yet. Now, apart from the fact that this rubber looks shit, it is also pretty worn around the corners and stuff, and I have actually been getting a little bit of water inside the boot, which I think is coming through here. Now, I'm hoping that if there is a rust hole behind this rubber, it is only going to be minimal, but there's only one way to find out. Now, I've installed front and rear windscreens before, but I've never actually taken one out, but I've seen it done a few times. Now, the way my mate does it is he uses a screwdriver to try and fold this rubber seal around the lip of the window aperture. Now, if that doesn't work, I can always just run a Stanley blade around the rubber and get it out that way, because I obviously won't be putting this old rubber back in. But the first thing I'm going to do is remove this once chrome, but now very yellow window trim. I'm going to get these two corner pieces off first, which are still chrome, which obviously makes it easier to get the trim itself out. Right, I think I remember my mate starting off in the corner. To be honest, he used a much bigger screwdriver than this, and he actually had one that had blunted the corners on, especially for this job, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not that bothered about ruining the headlining, but I'll try not to. Yeah, I think he used to just fold it round like that. Simple as that. Not too much rust either. I was really worried that I was going to find a massive hole there. Right, so I've had a little prod around this area with a screwdriver, and it doesn't look like there's a hole there. Same the other side. Now, when I first painted this car, I didn't remove the front and the rear windscreen rubbers, and I cleaned up this area as best as I could, and I masked out the window rubber and then painted it. Now, it's got quite a lot of surface rust along here, which is the other reason why I wanted to take out the rear windscreen rubber. So while it's now out, I can spend a lot of time grinding back all this rust and giving it a fresh coat of paint before I put the rear windscreen back in. So luckily, that's not going to take much work before I can get the rear windscreen back in with the new rubber. I've got a load of tidying up to do now in my garage before it gets dark, but I'll be back round here tomorrow to start grinding away that rust, and you can see that in just a few seconds. Hello, a couple of days have now passed and I'm back round the garage to work on the Mark II. I was really busy yesterday, but I did get about half hour around here and I've made quite a good start on removing the rust around where the rear windscreen goes. So I attacked the rust yesterday with one of these flat wheels on the drill. It's done quite a good job. Where there was rust, there's now nice shiny bare metal. I've still got to tackle the scabs that are in the corners, and there's a couple of other scabs elsewhere around the window lip. But for now, I'm going to give it another little tickle with the flat wheel just to remove any surface rust that might have started overnight. And then I'm going to give it a clean and start putting primer over the bare metal. Right, so I've just gone round with some red oxide that I bought from Halfords. They've been getting too much of my money lately. I'm going to be carrying on with this later, so I'm going to stick Maude back in the garage. But before I do that, I'm going to get my tools out because I'm going to be servicing not one, but two plastic Ford Fiestas. Right, so you all know Winston, who is my girlfriend Kat's plastic Fiesta. And today we're going to be changing the air filter, the pollen filter, and also doing an oil and filter change. Now, the oil and the oil filter I got from OP Oils, and a big shout to Monkey London for the 10% discount. If you know, you know. Unfortunately, OP Oils didn't have the air filter and the pollen filter in stock, so I got these from Lloyd's Motor Spares in South Harrow. So also going to be doing a minor service on another plastic Fiesta that belongs to Kat's brother Jack. But he's not here yet. So I'm going to crack on with Winston, and the first thing I'm going to do is jack the car up so I can get to the sump plug. And the sump plug's not over tightened. Some genius must have done the last oil change.
Oh yeah.
Right, while that's draining out, I'm going to get this oil filter off, which shouldn't be on too tight because I done it last. Make it seal better.
Okay.
Just pretending I know what I'm doing. Bosh. So this is the second plastic Fiesta I'm going to be working on today. Belongs to Jack, who is probably the second best Italian chef I know. The first one's obviously his dad. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to sample quite a lot of fine cuisine over the years from Jack. I did try and repay him with a bowl of my finest microwaved Heinz ravioli, but he wasn't too keen. So I've been tasked with doing an oil change instead. But hopefully today he'll learn something and he might be able to do it himself in the future. Jack, where's your air filter? Where's the air filter, Cat?
There.
Apprentice.
Find out where the air filter is.
Must be one.
Air filter's like the easiest job in the world. I can't believe people pay people to do this.
How much do they charge?
Well, you when you do service.
Yeah, if you do a full service, like it's going to be minimum 50 quid labour, isn't it? I mean, even if you sort of bought tools to do it, like by the time you've done a couple, you've got your money back, isn't it? Get a cheap jack, get a cheap socket set. Little dribble more and that'll be alright. Jack's getting involved. I won't be requiring you to teach me how to cook though, yeah?
So we open this in this way.
Yeah. Jack's oil filter's on too tight, so I've got this groovy chain tool. Simple. Cat's doing the pollen filter. I don't even know what a pollen filter is. I think the pollen filter is supposed to like protect you from the fumes and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
My car, you just get high on the petrol as you're driving along. Dear oh dear. Do you want me to do it? Leave it to the professionals. Jack's pollen filter's done. Cat's attacking her own one now. She started swearing yet?
Not yet.
So that's me done with the plastic Ford Fiestas. Now I'm going to crack back on with attacking the rust on Maude's rear windscreen area. I'm going to use my trusty Dremel to grind away some of these smaller rust scabs. Right, so I've ground back the last scabs of rust to bare metal. And I've given the whole area another little tickle with the sandpaper and the Scotch Brite, and I've wiped over it all with another paint preparation wipe. So what I'm going to do now is give it all another coat of red oxide, including this inner part of the lip. But first, I'm going to eat this crumpet and drink the cup of tea that Kat just brought round for me. That's it all coated up with red oxide. I'll just put the car back in the garage to go indoors and wait for it to dry. Yeah, I reckon one more thin coat of red oxide all the way round, and then next time I can start actually putting some black paint on it. Hello, so another day has passed and today's the day that I need to get the rear windscreen back in the car because I need to use it for work tomorrow. So I've bought myself some gloss black from Halfords, and I'm going to put that on the lip all the way round because gloss black is a lot more resistant to the weather. It's not porous like matte black, and obviously it'll be behind the rubber there anyway. I'm also going to do this whole strip here gloss black because that bit was getting quite rusty, and again the gloss black will resist against future rust better. All the rest, like round the edge here, that you will see is going to be matte black like the rest of the car. And for those who are interested, this is the matte black that I painted the car with. It's just Kuvar oil-based matte black paint. It's not car paint, it's just house paint. Now I'm hoping that I'll be able to get 2 coats on today and then just about get the rear windscreen back in before it gets dark later on. I'm going to start off with the gloss bits. So that is that. Really hope it dries in time for me to put the rear windscreen back in later. I'm going to leave it out of the garage in the sun, which should speed up things. Right, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on Maude'S drift wound. I'm not going to take the tank out today, but I think if I use a long chisel and just hit it where the bumper mounts to the rear quarter, I should be able to partly bang the dent out, and then another day I can take the tank out and do a better job of it. So if I poke this long chisel down the side of the tank, I might be able to get some of this dent out. Alright, while I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I'm just going to give the window a bit of a clean, put the new rubber on ready. Looks like someone's bonded in this rear windscreen at some point. I don't think Ford did that. To put these windscreens in the car, you need to pull the rubber seal over the lip on the car using string or wire, as I'm going to be using because it's worked well for me in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the wire in this groove in the rubber all the way around so it's ready to put on later on. But before I do that, I'm going to put some fairy liquid in the channel and just spread it round, and that will make the wire pull through easier without ripping the rubber seal. Right, time to get this window back in. First thing I'm going to do is make sure the rubber's on properly. It's come off a bit while I was carrying it. And make sure that the string crosses over. Right, now I'm going to lay the windscreen in its hole. Right, so I'm just going to push it down to make sure that the bottom is as it should be. And also make sure that it's central in the hole, which it looks like it pretty much is. So what I'm going to do now is, while my glamorous assistant puts pressure on the outside of the windscreen, is basically just pull the wire through, and that should basically fold the rubber around this lip, and then the windscreen will be fitted. That's how it should go, we'll see. Got quite a lot of pressure here. To get started. Bang it, down there, down the corner. Right, so we just had a lot of grief getting it in, so I didn't actually film it because we both needed both of our hands, but yeah, we got it done. So after we put the rear windscreen back in moored earlier, we had to rush off because we was due to be at Kat's parents for dinner. I'm back at work tomorrow, so I probably won't be doing anything else on the car until next weekend, when I plan to tackle the dent in the rear quarter. By then, I would have hopefully purchased one of the flexible bars for my ratchet, so then I can find out whether I'm actually able to undo the Allen key bolts for the gearbox without lowering it out of the tunnel, which was the whole point of changing to the quick release inserts in the first place. So I'll let you know how that goes. I have pretty much decided to get another gearbox rebuilt for the car with a longer first gear, so I'll be switching the gearbox around again in a few weeks' time. So I'm going to end this video here. As always, if you thought this video was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was shit, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe and activate the notification bell to be kept up to date with any other videos that I post in the future. Make sure you check out my Facebook and my Instagram, and the links you need for that will be in the description of this video. Until next time, thanks for watching.